Delvin, so good to see you and have you here in WGNO in the Sports Zone. You know, I got to ask you, I hear the inaugural Football and Mental Health Awareness Camp is this weekend, Saturday, February the 18th. Talk to me a little bit about the camp.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to do something different. Everybody always do football camps, but I wanted to talk about mental health. I wanted to bring some awareness around that because we don't talk about it enough in our community. So me being able to have a platform and to have other guys with a platform to come around and talk about mental health awareness, I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Talk to me about how mental health has played an aspect or a big role in your career, which includes 3 seasons with the Saints, a stellar all-star career in the Canadian Football League. We talked off camera. My favorite team, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, ended up this year in November, BC Lions. You're calling it quits. But let me ask you, how has it played a role in your career?
Mental health has played a devastating and a phenomenal role because at first, as a kid, I didn't know a lot about mental health and reaching out for help for people, right? But now, as an adult, I have a counselor, I have my mom, I have people I can reach out to if I'm having any down days or bad days. I have people to call on now. So that's what the difference is, and I love it, love it.
When you think about, especially for the young people today that didn't necessarily we didn't have all the trappings they have today with YouTube, the access to social media and the internet, Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. How much does that play in a young kid's, but a young athlete's psyche as they're going through adolescence?
Yes, it plays a huge part, man, because it's like social media is a monkey see, monkey do thing now, and whatever they see on social media is what they're bringing to real life. So if it's something positive, and we can start speaking more positive to put on social media, I think it'll be a great outcome for kids in their life growing up.
What are some things that the young people here in New Orleans can be aware of or can expect come Saturday at the camp?
Yes, man, you're gonna expect great energy. First of all, we have great energy. It's gonna be live music. We have a whole bunch of kids there. Great food, great music, everything. But the most important is we're just gonna talk about mental health. You know, I want these kids to really understand how important it is to speak on mental health. It's really big, and we have to make it an important factor in these kids' life. And it starts now. And that's what they're going to expect.
And of course, you look still phenomenal, like you're in game shape. Again, you were playing just a few months ago, Canadian Football League, BC Lions. Now you're coaching and teaching there at Booker T. Washington. What are some of the things that you're hearing from students that concern them about growing up in 2023?
Oh, you know what, man? A lot of kids just talking about believing in themselves. You know, they ask me, like, Coach, how you were able to make it to the league or whatnot after your neck injury? I'm like, I believed in myself. So that's what you have to do now. Start believing in yourself. Believe you can do the impossible to make it possible. So that's what we're preaching right now to those kids.
And how big is confidence, though? I mean, that is the deciding factor in your career. If you're not born with it, can you acquire confidence?
Absolutely. You sure can. You just have to believe in yourself. You have to tell yourself every day, I am confident, I am strong, I am knowledgeable, I am humble. Talk to yourself. It's going to make a big difference.
You talk about the neck injury, done at 35. You went on to sign on with LSU. Of course, player coach, basically a student player coach there until you became, into the pros. You're Canadian Football League. We talked 3 seasons with the Saints. Was your confidence ever shaken?
Yes, my confidence definitely was shaken because I didn't know where my life was going to turn. I didn't know if football was going to be in question for me, but I always just had that motivation and that drive. So I always kept that chip on my shoulder and know I was going to make it regardless of what tried to stop me. I knew I was going to make it.
How did you maintain that? Who did you surround yourself with? Was it family support? Was it just that inner drive? What helped you get through the dark times?
It was the internal drive, and then it was also having family support. My brother Alex Shields, having my mom, having my sisters Kiara Kidd, my brother Lionel, having all those be a part of my life during that pivotal time is what helped me be successful.
And did that lead you to writing your autobiography, Unbroken? And what a great, can't wait to dive into it myself. We've got a copy today. I love it. Listen, talk to me about that process, what the book entails, and what you learned about yourself through that process.
You know, the process was awesome. I want to say shout out to Ross Williams and Williams Commerce for helping me bring this book to life. I want to say shout out to Sasha Austri and Miss Michelle Roberts for also helping me bring my book to life. But it was an amazing process. You know, it was very therapeutic for me, and I acknowledge and want everybody to go write a book. If you have a story to tell, go write it. It's going to be very therapeutic for you, and it's going to be awesome.
What was the big takeaway moment for you while you were writing the book? And of course, you were writing while you were still in your playing career. So how were you able to juggle a bit of both, writing the book and playing? And what was there ever a light bulb moment during that said, wow, I forgot about that, or that was the fork in the road, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. You know what? It definitely was a busy time for me, but I made time. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to write this book. It was time for me to share the book, so I made time. Me and my ghostwriter, we would spend like an hour once a week on the phone, just sharing my story and until we get it all the way, down to the T. So it was very awesome. I'm very thankful that I got it out. And, the message was, it was just courage. I want to say it allowed me to have courage. I built so much courage in myself of sharing my story. It allowed me to be free. So now I'm free to move on and share my story, and hopefully others can be free as well.
And that's the big takeaway, that you want readers to kind of be inspired by, that motivation to do your own thing, to not let anyone hold you back?
Absolutely. That's the motivation. When people read this book, I want them to understand that you can do anything. Not dead, can't quit. As long as you ain't dead, you can't quit on nothing.
When we think about the neck injury in high school, and we think about the broken leg, the two of them with the Saints, there were so many times where you could have cashed it in and said, I'm done.
Yep.
What kept you going?
What kept me going through that time was my son, obviously. I know he was going to need me. I didn't want him to look at me as a quitter. So I couldn't just give up on him. I couldn't give up on myself. So I had to continue to keep fighting until, things got better. And it eventually did, because I became the highest paid corner in the CFL. And, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Two-time All-Star for the league. What? 3-time, 4-time for the East, I believe, for the division. I mean, you were Mr. Canadian football, but also a lot of people love you right here in New Orleans. And not just because you're a hometown boy, because you are, right? You're one of us. But more importantly, you were a sensational Saint. I mean, listen, the Ed Brock Courage Award, that's huge. You were voted the top defensive player. And not even so much by the peers, but by the fans, because they absolutely love you, and they still do. What did that mean to you during your time to represent the black and gold?
It meant a lot to me. It wasn't just, the black and gold. It was my last name. I had so much to uphold, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I just want to thank Coach Payton and Mickey Loomis just for giving me an opportunity. I can't thank them enough. I appreciate it, because it allowed me to showcase my talents to the world, even in 1 year, 1.5 years, man. So to be able to do that, it was just a phenomenal experience. You
mentioned Coach Payton. Of course, big news last week. He obviously is taking the job in Denver. Two questions there. One, were you surprised when Sean Payton walked away from New Orleans? And then secondly, were you even more surprised that he got back into the game, but even in Denver instead of coming back home to New Orleans?
Yes, I actually was surprised, because when you sign a big deal, I think you should finish it out. So it was a surprising factor that he left in the middle of a contract. But people have reasons, right? Things happening off the field. So whatever it was, I just hope it's going well for him and he continues to go. But him coming back to Denver I was like, oh, come on! I was hoping he'd come back with the Saints, because we need a spark. And having him back in here with Pete Carmichael would have been that spark we needed. But he's gone to Denver. It sucks. No, I'm not rooting for Denver. I'm not rooting for Denver. Who that, baby?
Well, let me ask you this. And knowing Coach Payton the way you do you think he's a good fit for the Broncos? And did the Broncos get a good coach?
Yes, he's definitely a great fit. You got Russell Wilson over there with some weapons, man. I think he's going to do well. He's great strategically minded coach. I think he's an offensive-minded guy, so I think they're going to do well. And I think he's a great fit for the program.
Do you think he can get some more miles out of Russell Wilson? Look, Russell Wilson, an amazing quarterback. We both know this. He didn't look like the Russell Wilson of old this last season. Mm-hmm. Could this be the spark to get him back into that top tier?
You know what, man? After seeing the smiles on Russell Wilson's face, after winning and losing games, now he's about to get Sean Payton. Man, I think it's going to be great success going to be over there. I think this is about to get him back in the top ranks of quarterbacks. It was a down year for him last year, but watch this year. I think Russell's going to turn it around.
Your professional opinion, did the Saints get a fair trade? Did they get reasonable compensation for Sean Payton?
I would have liked another first-round pick, but that's me. I think they did, because now we have a first-round pick going into this draft, which we didn't have before. So, yeah, I think that was definitely great trade.
But late first-round pick.
I know.
Let me ask you a question. Based off what you know, what you've seen, the Saints' needs are right now, how do you use that first-round draft choice?
Me, I want to get a young quarterback. I want to get a young quarterback to where we can start molding and start building our team. That's where I will go with. That's where I will go with.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, rumors this last few days, last week, Derek Carr, would he come here? Would he not? We knew he was in town. He was being interviewed. He's in a bit of a courting fest right now. The Raiders have let him go, free agent. They didn't want to pay the rest of that contract. Did the Saints miss out on Derek Carr, or did we dodge a bullet?
Derek Carr, I think we missed out on him. I think he's a phenomenal up-and-coming quarterback that's going to be for the next future generation, it's going to be a beast. I think he's going to turn it around. You know, he was just in a situation in Oakland, but I think if he get in the right fit with the right coaching staff and the right, I ain't going to say players because they had great players, but if he get with the Alvin Kamara's, Michael Thomas, if he can get with those type of guys, I think he's going to have tremendous success.
Do you think Carr would have been an upgrade to what we have right now? Right now, we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster, right? We have Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. Would he have been an upgrade?
Absolutely. I think Derek Carr would have been a tremendous upgrade for us, man, just because we know what he's capable of. We know he can win, and we know he can make those throws.
What do we do now? What do we do now? No Derek Carr, and we're still, we have Dalton, we have Jameis Winston, we have Taysom Hill at this moment. What do we do? I know you mentioned let's use one of those draft choices, that first round at 29, to get a young quarterback. Is there going to be a young quarterback available at that point that we want? Do we package that deal, Delvin?
And go up and trade up? We make it do that. I think we might can trade up and get a top quarterback that's coming out. And I think the guy from Ohio State is really good, man. I think he'll be a really good fit, but I know he's going to be low in the draft boards getting picked up. So I don't know, man. I would say we trade up. We could trade up, or we can stay back and get a quarterback.
You know, they're making some roster moves right now. They're making some staffing moves.
Yes.
A defensive coordinator comes to mind. When you look at the job Dennis Allen and his staff did this season with the talent they had, and let's take in consideration the injuries. Of course, that was legit. Yeah. But what grade do you give this team and the job Dennis Allen and the coaching staff did?
It's hard, man. I would say a C+. I would say a C+, man, just because I know Dennis Allen and I've been a part of the defense and the team and the same staff that's around there. I would say this past year, I would say a C+, not too high. And
when you think about the offensive side of things, were you surprised that they couldn't get things going? Or were you surprised? Listen, Michael Thomas injured right out of the gate again this season. Jarvis Landry played with some injuries of his own. Chris Olave, the rookie, what a great pick this young man has been. I can almost see an offensive pick. What I would like personally in the first round, I would like to see Tyjae Spears drafted out of Tulane.
Oh, that would be sneaky.
Former North Shore. I would like to see that.
That would be sneaky.
Did you happen to see the Senior Bowl? Any of that?
No, I didn't.
And hear about Tyjae Spears upped his draft stock, I believe. He was the cream of the crop. Talk of Senior Bowl week. So we're hoping that could happen. And speaking of Tulane and Tyjae Spears, they've got a young man coming from Booker T. Washington where you're coaching and teaching at, Arnold Barnes. Can this guy come in and play right away at Tulane?
Absolutely. I was watching film on Arnold. Man, he's dominant. He's the playmaker that they're going to need. He's going to help the team, and they're going to continue to keep winning conference games.
So you think he's the real thing?
Oh, he's the real deal. No question.
And we were talking off air, but listen, Tulane, are you surprised at the job they're doing right now? And not just the success of winning the Cotton Bowl and beating Southern Cal and the Heisman Trophy winner, but being able to really make an impact locally on the recruiting scene.
No, you know what? I'm actually not surprised. You know, I know Fritz over there. You know, I know what he's doing. He's a dynamic coach, and he brings in the right guys. You know, they have my guy JJ McCluskey over there that's working with the DBs, and he's bringing in the right guys. And I think they're building something great for years to come. You talk about a dynasty. Just stay tuned.
You know, you think about all those times you playing at high school level, at the collegiate level, obviously, at the pro level. I think about the Canadian Football League and the NFL and the differences. How did you go from adjusting from one to the other?
Yeah, you know what, man? The Arena Football League actually prepared me for this Canadian Football League because of the high motion and the waggle. And then when I got to the CFL, it was easy. Then when I got to the NFL, mind you, now I'm an American. I know how to play. It was actually much easier to get closer, to get hands on the receiver, because you know we were 1 yard off in the CFL. But now I was able to get closer to a receiver and get man, it was phenomenal. It was easy. I loved it.
And of course, Canadian Football League, 12 men on the field, a little bit larger field. The wide receivers in motion can get a running start. How does that change your role as a defensive back?
Yes, well, you have to prepare for that, right? You have to watch a lot of film, and you have to understand who you're going against, right? Is this guy 4'2" off the line, or is he a 4'6", 4'7", a long, taller body that's going to take time to build up speed? So you just have to watch who you're doing and adjust to the gameplay, and I love it.
You know, I mentioned earlier that you retired. You called it in November. You're retiring from the Canadian Football League, from pro football. Why now?
Well, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to share my story. You know, it's time for me to enlighten people with things that I've been through, to where they can use my story as a blueprint to make it through this life, man, to navigate. You know, it's tough, but to have somebody who has been through a lot of adversity and to have made it, I think my story is something that people can use to navigate themselves through life. So it's time to do that.
And of course, you're going to share that story again. You're sharing it with Unbroken, the autobiography. But of course, you're going to share it again this Saturday at your camp, the Football and Mental Health Awareness Camp, Saturday. Give us the location, the time, where we can find it, how we can sign up.
Yes, 6124 Jefferson Highway out in Haverham, Louisiana. Make sure you guys come check it out. We're going to be taking kids the day of camp, so you can come in, so no worry about if you missed the pre-registration. And if you need pre-registration, you can go online. You can follow me on Instagram, BroShow40, and you can check it out, how you can pre-register your kid. And also, we're taking sponsorships and donations for the inner city kids who can't afford to get out there. So if you want to help and reach back and give back to the community, now would be a great opportunity.
And of course, it's a great way for kids, but also parents to come and meet you and get some autographs and some photos, I'm sure. Anything particularly the kids should be wearing or come prepared for?
Oh, no, just make sure you have short shirts and wear your cleats or tennis shoes. So it's an indoor field, so be ready to run, be ready to work. We're gonna have the 40-yard dash, so hey, be ready to show them wheels.
and of course, the first session starts at 9 a.m., second session at 2 p.m. You can show up, doors open, what, 8:30?
Yep, doors open and registration is going to start at 8:30, between 8:30 and 9:30, and then we're going to get the ball rolling.
And of course, it's just $25 per child, I believe. Sir. And we've got all the information on this event on Delvin's autobiography, Unbroken, on WGNO.com. Delvin, thank you so much, brother. Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.